I want to start with an introduction to guided meditation and why guided meditation is so important at the end of a practice. Or even you don't have to do it with a practice, you can do it just by itself, particularly in the times that we're in, given how anxious everyone is. So I want to start by saying that I'm wearing my socks and my sweater just to keep me warm. So if you've got warm during your practice and taken things off, at the end of the practice it's time to put things back on again because you will cool down quite quickly. There are several different positions you can have for your guided meditation. Seated, you can either be cross-legged, you can be in the half lotus or the full lotus, but it has to be a position that you're comfortable in to sit or to lie in the next case for 5 to 10 minutes. So make sure that your back is straight, that your neck is long, that you're not sticking your head forward, your shoulders are relaxed and resting over your hips. Now the two other positions that you might want to assume are lying down. So the first one is just legs straight out in front and relax all the way down. And your feet should drop out to the side just a little bit. And again, try to make sure that your hips are flat and parallel with the ceiling. And again, your neck is long. You might want to put a little pillow behind your head. That can sometimes help if you've got very stiff neck. But you want to make sure, again, that your chin's not too far down or looking backwards. It's just nice and straight, and your arms are relaxed, hands out to the side. The third position then is if your lower back is and your hamstrings are tight, particularly after doing the exercises, you bring your knees up. And again, just like we did in the exercises, I want you to have your feet hip distance apart, but on this occasion, because it helps to release the back and support the knees, you can actually just bring your heels out a little bit. So a slightly pigeon-toed position, but it's much safer on your lower back. And again, you should have the neutral spine that we've been discussing, just a little bit of space under here. And again, if you want to just do a quick pelvic tilt to make sure that you're not arching or pushing your lower back too far into the mat. And again, just have your hands out to the side. So these are the three positions that you can take, and there's nothing wrong with starting in one and then moving to another partway through the exercise. If you suddenly feel that sitting is uncomfortable, you can change your position. You want to not think about your body in too much detail, except for the way that you're being directed by my voice, essentially. So the purpose of guided meditation is quite important to think about. There are three types of muscles in the body. There are the voluntary ones, which again, I tell my body to move and it moves. They're the involuntary ones, which are, keeping your heart going and your brain. As we know, it's quite hard to stop the brain sometimes. And then there's the ones that are in between. And the key muscles that are between voluntary and involuntary are the muscles associated with the breathing. So if you didn't think about it, you would breathe. But you can think about it and you can alter your breathing. So some people say that the whole of yoga practice or a Pilates practice is just about coming to this point where you start to regulate your breath, think about your breath, and as a result of calming down your breathing, you can actually reduce your stress and reduce your anxiety and just stop the panic of the rest of your rest of your life, potentially. So as you can, if you're upset or you're anxious, you will breathe just from up here, and not only will you start to hyperventilate if you do that, you will also, you'll put your body into the fight or flight mode. So what we want to do is move as far away from that as possible, and we do that by breathing. And breathing using the diaphragm mostly. Now, the diaphragm is a muscle that has to pull down in order for the muscles, for the lungs to fill. The lungs don't actually have any muscles in themselves, so you're working on the intercostal muscles, which are between the ribs and the diaphragm. So the diaphragm pulls down, and the intercostal muscles pull the ribs apart, and that's what expands and contracts your lungs. So the key thing we want to think about is keeping our shoulders down and breathing down into here. You can put a hand down here to feel it. Just breathe in deeply through the nose. Some people like to breathe out through the mouth. It's a good way to start, just to get yourself thinking about the breath. So breathe in through the nose and out through the mouth. Just a third one of those, in through the nose and out through the mouth. Now if you just go back to your regular breath, hopefully that will have slowed it down just a little bit. Not a huge amount necessarily, but just a slight alteration. So you're starting to think about your breathing and the fact that your breathing can affect your mood. The other way you want to think about breathing is to the side. So again, just hold your ribs at the side and breathe in and breathe out. And breathe in and breathe out. And third time, breathe in and breathe out. And the last place you want to think about breathing is into your back. Now sometimes that's hard to do when you're seated, but if you're bent over, you will see that automatically it's harder for your stomach to move forward, so you'll start to breathe into your back. And so just try that one time. We won't go into too much detail on it because it'll come up later, but breathe in and just feel if you can feel any movement at all in your back. It's quite a difficult one to get the hang of at first. Breathe out and breathe in and breathe out. Last time, breathe in and breathe out. Now you notice that my shoulders are not moving. We're not doing this. Breathe in, breathe out. That's what you want to avoid above all. So keeping the shoulders stable above the hips, your knees are relaxed, and you're ready for your guided meditation. You can have your hands in a variety of positions. You can have them in your lap. You can have them, quite often it's index finger and thumb coming together, just resting. There's a sense that keeps the energy within the body. Some of the practices, the guided meditations will actually ask you to place your hands places like on your heart. But it's up to you where you want to have your hands. And again, as I say, if it's uncomfortable at any point, you can just shift from one position to the next. Right, I guess we're ready for a guided meditation. So please go on to one of the guided meditations. There are several that I've come up with myself, which are sort of guided journeys, and there are several that come from the mindful.org online source. So I will credit them on every occasion. So you can go and do them yourself. You don't need to have me doing them for you, but it sometimes is really quite useful to have a voice that goes with the guided meditation. So when you're ready, find a nice place to sit and a quiet space where you're not going to be disturbed by any ringing phones or binging iPads, and just make sure that you have a quiet, warm environment to think and relax. Just relax. Okay,